Hey guys, what's up? It's Charlie here, and today we're going to be looking at what 10 school meals look like around the world. School lunches have a reputation for being pretty bad, but have you ever wondered what kids in other countries eat? Prepare to be amazed, grossed out, and jealous all at the same time as we look at these school lunches around the world. But first, why not subscribe and turn on notifications too? Coming in at number 10 we have India. India is known for many things, including being quite poor. As a result, their school lunch is fairly basic, but honestly not too bad. Most Indian kids can expect curd rice with their meal, as it's very common and popular in India, as well as cheap. For the main part of their lunch, they usually get sambar. For those who don't know, sambar is a lentil-based chowder, which is very popular in India. And finally, they will get a small dessert, which is often something like rasgulla. This is a kind of dumpling made from cheese, dough and syrup. Indian school lunches may not be very flashy or even very big, but they don't look half bad. Does this lunch look better than what you eat at school? Next up is Russia. Russia's known for their very different food palette, especially when compared to the USA. The system in Russian schools is pretty good. Kids can get a free breakfast from 9 AM to 12 PM at their school. Then after 12 PM lunch is served and they have to pay for that. However, Russian lunches are very similar to what most people in the US or UK would eat for breakfast. Most Russian lunches include sausage, buckwheat porridge and tea to drink. And sometimes bread and butter is also served. This is a classic meal dating back to the Soviet times. They don't look too glamorous, but they probably taste better than you'd expect. And they're free, which is a big deal for cheapskates like me. Next up is Guatemala. You may not be too familiar with Guatemalan food, but their school lunches are pretty interesting. Normally kids get a tortilla with their lunch no matter what they have with it. Then most commonly kids get a hard-boiled egg for their protein, and for their fruit and vegetables they get tomatoes and fruit juice. This is pretty simple but tasty stuff. But if you want to go to school here, just be sure to like tortilla because they eat it a lot. Next up we have China.
China!
School lunch in China, unsurprisingly, always contains rice. And not just a little rice, a whole lot of rice. For vegetables, they usually get broccoli, cauliflower, or both. But the really cool thing about school meals in China is that you get a lot of meat. A very common thing to have as a side dish is prawns in a spicy tomato sauce. And for the main part of the meal, kids usually get a large piece of fish or chicken. There's also quite a lot of choice in Chinese schools when it comes to food. But one choice you don't get is cutlery, as you always have to use chopsticks. China's known for having the most genius people per million out of any country in the world. So maybe other countries should be taking note of what Chinese kids are chowing down on. Coming up next is UK. The UK has a reputation for bland food, but this isn't always true, and school meals in the UK aren't always half bad. Trust me, I had to eat them for about 17 years. On Fridays, schools in the UK usually serve fried fish and fries, or chips as they're called in the UK. And on Wednesdays or Thursdays, schools commonly serve roasted meat, potatoes and vegetables, and sometimes even a Yorkshire pudding. For dessert, schools usually give out buns, waffles, or free fruit. What do you think of UK school meals, and how do they compare to what you eat? Next up is Italy. Italy is known for fine food. After all, it is the home of pasta, spaghetti, pizza, ice cream, yeah, pretty much anything delicious. But are their school meals as good? The answer is yes, Italian school meals are awesome. Commonly kids get pasta and fish for their school meal. Then they also get 2 different kinds of salads and bread. And for dessert, grapes, ice cream or yogurt is commonplace. And in a lot of Italian schools, actual chefs are used instead of just lunch ladies. Anyone else getting super jealous right about now? Next up is the USA. Most of you watching are probably in the USA, but don't worry, I'd never leave you out of a list. America has a reputation for unhealthy food, being the home of McDonald's, Burger King, and those kind of places. But American schools have a surprising amount of healthy food options. A common school meal in America is pizza. Then for the sides, corn or salad is available. And for dessert, a chocolate mousse called pudding is very common. Also in America, a popular drink to have with a school meal is milk, which is uncommon to have in most other countries. But in America, it's also very common for parents to give their kids lunch to take to school instead of buying it there. If you're American, how do you like your school lunches? And do you take them in or do you buy them there? Next up is France. France is another country with a reputation for some seriously good grub. But is this the same for French schools? Much like in Italian schools, chefs are used instead of lunch ladies, meaning their food is usually made to a high standard. In France, lunch break is around 2 hours long, and students can go home in this time if they want. This is because in France, lunch is the main meal of the day, not dinner. French school lunches usually consist of fish as the main part of the meal. Then on the side is usually spinach, potatoes, and salad. Oh, and who could forget some French baguette? Next up is Japan. Japanese school lunches are known for being really good. They usually include hot soup, rice, and some fish. Students aren't allowed to bring in their own food until high school, and there are no vending machines in Japanese schools. And what's odd is they don't eat their lunch in a cafeteria because in Japan schools don't have cafeterias. Instead, they put on white eating coats and take their food into their classrooms where they eat it. And that's not all. After lunch, sometimes students are allowed to take a nap on their tables. What do you think about school lunches in Japan? One thing's for sure, they're very unique. Next up is South Korea. This country is known for a lot of things: Gangnam Style, competitive gaming, and being scarily close to North Korea. But South Korea also has the best school meals in the world according to a lot of people. They have 2 large tray sections for soup and rice, then a few smaller sections for salads, fish, and vegetables. And they're also given a small measuring spoon of fish oil, which boosts their brain power. Some schools have rice and honey sauce as well, and other popular dishes include pumpkin soup, pancakes with onions, and peppered octopus. I have to say that stuff sounds interesting in a good way. Check out the poll in the top right corner to vote for the country with the best school meals. And guys, please do check out and subscribe to my channel, The Crafty. There'll be a crafty video coming up on screen in a second, so definitely click it and subscribe. But as always, thanks for watching. Check out some more videos on screen right now. Leave a like if you enjoyed, and if you haven't already, what are you waiting for? Subscribe to Top 10s right now.